Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins, Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐷𝐿.
And I'm Danny.
And this is episode 125.
All right. Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We are testing out some new microphones today. We are not even sitting in a closet right now.
Look at that. And I even have my two front teeth in, which for a change of pace is kind of nice.
We're just making upgrades left and right around these parts. We're in the middle of fake spring. Our fake spring just faked us out. It is now the first week in June that we're recording this, and it is so cold and miserable outside.
It's rained like every single day. I'm trying to time it so that I could actually go mow the lawn, and I cannot. It's just nonstop rain.
Yeah, the garden is loving all the rain. Except, well, this has nothing to do with the rain. The other day I went out and I have this one bed that's full of things like kale, collards, cabbage, broccoli, like all these cruciferous vegetables. And I go out there the other day and two of my kale plants literally look like they got swarmed in a cartoon. You ever watch a cartoon where something just swarms something and then all that's left is like the bones?
I'm thinking Tasmanian devil for some reason. I know I'm off here.
Yeah, like Tasmanian devil swoops around stuff and they've like basically picked whatever the food is clean. Okay, that's what my kale plants looked like. All the leaves were gone. It was just the ribs coming up with nothing on them. And I was like, ugh, squirrels. I was so mad. And then the next day, I go outside to check them again. Another one is done for. But there were like, no joke, like over a dozen of these big green caterpillars on several of my plants. And I figured it out. They're called cabbage loopers. And they are voracious little eaters, and they eat cruciferous vegetables specifically.
How come they decided to like converge onto our garden? Where'd they come from?
I don't know where they came from. Like, that's what I'm wondering. Like, where did you guys come from? But I, carefully picked them all off and walked them up the hill and put them in the woods where they can find other plants to eat.
Danny, the vegan gardener, saving as many caterpillars as possible.
Yeah, I'm going to try to I still think the squirrels are doing something out there. So I'm going to build little nets.
I don't trust them. I like when we had the little peanut container far away where they could just have their whatever. And then we had our garden. Hey, not to abruptly change the subject here, but before I forget, I want to make sure to let you all know that in a couple weeks, we're going to be in Anaheim. So if you are around, we'll be at the Anaheim Convention Center at the Idea Expo on July 15th and 16th, I want to say. That's the weekend.
And then that one's kind of like an industry event. So it's mostly for people who work in the fitness industry. We have a table there. But then 2 weeks later, we will be back in Anaheim for the Anaheim Fit Expo, which is open to like anybody who wants to come.
Corinne might be doing a tofu scramble as a food demo at the Healthy Living Pavilion. I'm going to continue to make my 5-minute vegan taco meat recipe because who doesn't love vegan taco meat? And we'll be tabling and doing all sorts of fun stuff. So come on, check that one out too.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So what are we talking about today, 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐷𝐿?
How to speed up your metabolism.
Interesting. This is a really hot topic. Metabolism in general is always a hot topic for people because I think it's very mysterious to a lot of people. Like, ooh, do I have a fast metabolism or a slow metabolism? Or how do I change my metabolism? Or am I just stuck with the metabolism that I have? And I actually just recorded a YouTube video. I'm not sure when it comes out, probably around the same time as this, about why so many people think they have a slow metabolism when they probably don't have a slow metabolism. But there's been a lot of very just interesting research on metabolism recently, period, full stop. But what is metabolism? Like I said, it's very mysterious. How would you define it?
Well, how I break down metabolism, simply put, is your body's ability to metabolize the energy that it is taking in. In other words...
Did you just use the word in the definition? Because I don't think that's allowed.
I think it is.
That's like something I would have pulled in 7th grade vocabulary tests.
What can I say? You get in calories, you turn it into energy. Your body's ability to turn calories into energy and to burn them, that is your metabolism.
So the way I would define it is, metabolism to me is all all of the chemical processes that take place in our body, all of them. And all of those processes require energy. So that's the calories that you were just talking about. But every single stinking thing that our body does requires energy in order to do it. So the rate at which it uses that energy to do anything that our body does is what I would refer to as metabolism.
Let's throw some context in here. We're not just talking about what you do activity-wise. We're talking about how your body's immune response can fight off things. We're talking about not just your digestion, how your brain utilizes energy, how your whole entire system from head to toe utilizes calories for energy.
Mm-hmm. And not to spoil my video about why so many people think they have a slow metabolism, but some of this new research that came out, well, let me back up a minute. A lot of people think that as we get older, our metabolism just slows down, right? I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that are like, well, ever since I turned 40, everything changed. There could be some reasons why some things change when you reach that age, but metabolism is not one of them. This new research showed that from the age of 20 to 60, our metabolism does not change. From the time we are 20 to 60. As long as everything stays equal, which is kind of the key part here, if your body size, muscle mass, amount of activity, when all of that is equal, your metabolism stays the same. So it's not your metabolism that's slowing down.
Lifestyle.
Might be you, my friend. After 60, it slows down 0.7% per year, which means that from the time we are 60 to the time we are 95, God willing, our metabolism has slowed down 20%. And they actually think that's because our organs stop working so well at that point. Isn't that fascinating?
It's eye-opening because we often blame our bodies when in reality it's the fact that we're grown adults with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of stress.
Do you know how old we are when our metabolism peaks? Guess.
25?
Not even close.
15?
Closer.
18?
Nope. It's 1. Metabolism peaks at 1. And I don't know if you remember this.
Wait. At age 1?
At age 1.
Oh, goodness.
It's all downhill from there. Just
Fair
kidding.
enough.
It's just downhill till you're 20. Then it stays the same till 60. But I don't know if you remember this. The first time the kids came to live with us, I'm sure you remember that. But Desmond was 5.5 months old. And I literally was Googling, how much do babies eat?
50 calories per pound.
50 calories per pound, right? So if he was like, I don't remember how much he weighed when he first came to us, but let's say he was 20 pounds, an infant, couldn't even hold a bottle like in his hands by himself yet. That's 1,000 calories a day for the size of like a dachshund. That's insane. So yeah, baby's metabolism's super fast. Fun fact. Yeah, I made a tiny little baby meal plan for Desmond to make sure that he was eating enough at that age because I just didn't want to accidentally underfeed the baby. He's good. He's good now.
And it's interesting because we typically look at calories per pound over our body of work, working with people for a very long period of time. Mm-hmm. And let's not get too specific with it, but most people survive between anywhere from I want to say 8 to 25 calories per pound of body weight. Depends on the person. This is a broad range.
Huge spectrum.
Yes, but
See, you said most 30. People. I would say all people.
All people.
In that range.
All people
8
between...
8 to 25, Jesus.
8 to 30, actually. I don't... Have you seen the outliers outside of people who are extremely active outside of that range?
No.
Me neither.
No.
But that's pretty much... But when you compare that to the 50 calories per pound...
listen, if you're maintaining your weight on 8 calories per pound, see a doctor. Something's wrong. That's not normal at all.
Fair, well... Mostly, yeah.
I would say most people, not all people, but most of the people that I work with probably fall in between 12 and 13 up to 18.
Well, that's a little gender specific. I find that men are, I
said 18.
Gotcha. Yes. 12 to 18, for sure.
Yeah, I would say most people fall in there.
Yes.
Per pound.
Yes.
But again, that's based on a lot of factors. It's not like this is your magic number. There are a lot of things that you're doing and the way that your body is comprised that will lead you to that number. So today we wanted to talk about, like, first of all, can you speed your metabolism up? And if you can, what are some actual, real, tried and true, scientifically backed ways to do that?
Outside of muscle building, I assume.
No, that's one of them.
Okay. Because that's the easy one. That's the duh.
That's definitely one of them. So, okay, since you mentioned it, I guess we'll start there. One of the ways that you can scientifically change your metabolism and speed it up is to weight train and build muscle. So I'm going to lump those two together, even though they don't necessarily both happen at the same time. You don't build muscle just because you're weight training, but most of the time people will build some. Muscle is more metabolically active than body fat. So what that means is we burn more energy, calories, just by having more muscle than more body fat. And over the years, I've heard a lot of really outrageous claims about how many calories muscle burns. I've heard stuff, and I might have even said this because I believed it the first time I read it, but I've since done more research that a pound of muscle burns 50 calories per day. Yeah, I wish. But a pound of muscle burns 6 calories per day, which is 4 more than a pound of fat. So it's 3 times as metabolically active as a pound of fat.
And having more muscle gives you the ability to be more active, which also burns calories.
Yep. You're getting ahead of me. It's
As
your
usual.
thing. It's what you do.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, so the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn throughout the day, the more energy your body is going to require just to survive. So for a woman, let's say a woman before she starts weight training, let's say she has 75 pounds of lean body mass, and then she builds 25 pounds of muscle on top of that. So 25 times 6, that's an additional 150 calories that you require per day just by having that muscle. I do think it's very interesting along this research, even though muscle burns more calories than body fat, it's still very low on the totem pole in terms of tissues in your body. Guess how much a pound of brain burns per day?
1 calorie?
What? No.
How much does a human brain weigh?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up. It looks like a human brain weighs about 3 pounds. So guess, the point was, if muscle burns 6, how much does a pound of brain matter burn?
And I guessed 1.
You guessed 1, which is in the very wrong direction.
Oh, more?
Yeah.
20?
Oh my goodness. 300.
Calories per pound.
Yeah.
Wait, you telling me a brain burns 900 calories?
That's what I'm saying. So now, knowing that, like, just your brain utilizes 900 calories. And what's your brain's preferred energy source? Glucose, carbohydrate. This is why people who are on prep become so dumb. This is when we say prep brain, this is what we're referring to. You're just like starving your brain, basically. A pound of kidneys burns 125 calories per day. And a pound of liver, we keeping that sucker busy, burns 400 calories per day.
Wait, let's do the math here. So you got 900 cal on the brain, 300 cal in the kidney.
Kidneys weigh, they don't even weigh a whole pound. Maybe both kidneys together might weigh about a pound.
300.
Nope, that would be 125. And let's see how much a liver weighs. I know that sucker's a big guy, right? The liver weighs 3 pounds. So that's 1,200 right there.
Where are we at? What's the total count, Danny?
We are at, if the liver is 1,200 and the brain is 900, we're at 2,100 plus about 125 for kidneys. That's 1,325.
Wait. The liver is at 1,200?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're confusing me.
If it's 3 pounds, then
you're
yes.
adding up the numbers.
Yes.
Gotcha. So what's the total count?
22, 25.
Are you saying that a person needs to survive on 22, 25 calorie minimum?
I mean, the average person, whatever that means. The average adult human.
And once you start to go below that, your systems do what?
They have to find somewhere else to pull energy from.
Like your body's energy stores.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. And they're not functioning as optimally.
I would assume.
Possibly.
I would assume.
Or they just become efficient at being inefficient because you're using your body's energy source and not energy you're getting in.
They just become more efficient with less.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would assume. That's what bodies are really, really good at, is performing with basically nothing.
Right. Interesting.
So that was quite the side tangent we just went off on there. The point was that having more muscle on your body is one thing that you can actually do to increase your metabolism, even at rest. So obviously weight training in and of itself requires energy, right? But just having muscle on your body burns more calories throughout the day.
And since it's less essential, it's harder to put on and harder to keep. But by having muscle, you wind up becoming more active and burning more calories. But that's what you do, right? When you're focused on fitness, is you find a way to make that happen and you optimize it so that you make your metabolism work for you and your body work for you.
Hey listeners, we hope you've been enjoying this episode and we appreciate your love of all things vegan fitness. For those of you who want even more support on your vegan fitness journey, check out our Muscles by Brussels community and become a member. By joining the team, you are one of our exclusive VIPs. As a member, you'll find over 200 macro-friendly, high-protein recipes that can meet any of your meal planning needs. You'll also receive training programs that update monthly. This training has progressive overload built into it, so you can be sure if you're following the program, you are making progress. All of this and more is located inside our VeganProteins members-only app. As a Muscles by Brussels member, you'll unlock bonus courses, challenges, and more every month. You'll also be invited to our live Zoom video calls, which happen 2 times a month, and are absolute gold to those who show up. And if you can't make the calls, don't worry, you have the opportunity to email us whenever you want. You'll receive a video response to all of your questions from one of the coaches here at VeganProteins every time you message us. Members also receive 40% off many of our other services. And of course, our private community of like-minded individuals is like no other. Best of all, you can try this membership out for a full month at no cost to you with this special offer for our listeners only, because we appreciate and want to fully support you. Use the link in our show notes to sign up for your free trial today. We hope to see you on our next live coaching call.
Okay, so the next thing that you can do is to increase your movement. This is probably going to be one of the biggest things that you can do to increase your metabolism, so to speak, period. Full stop, the end, move your body more. And a lot of times we think about moving your body as exercise, aerobic exercise, cardio exercise, weight training exercise, whatever. But most of the calories that we burn through activity are not actually exercise. They're what we call NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. These are the calories that you burn fidgeting, walking around while you're talking on the phone, cleaning your house, planting things in your garden, mowing the lawn. Like, all of these things are NEAT, and they can burn up to 30% of your daily calories can come from NEAT. I think it's 15 to 30% on average, but of course, I actually think that number could be way higher depending on your lifestyle.
Well, this is also the first thing to go, because when your body starts to focus on organ health and being efficient at utilizing getting in less food, for example, or just utilizing food in general, your NEAT is the first thing to go, but it's also the first thing you could do to focus on improving your metabolism and making it speedier, because it's not a given.
Right.
It's not a given.
Yeah.
And this is where making your life easier to the point where like everything is right in front of you, for example, because we're efficient creatures, we're adaptable creatures, can actually make it so that your metabolism is slower on average.
Oh yeah. So fun fact, there's a little side story here. So I want to say it was back in like 2014. Giacomo and I were both in prep at that time. And as we got deeper into prep, our like cardio requirements kept going up and up and up and up to keep progress going. And neither one of us really noticed it at the time, but looking back, it was very obvious. Yes, we were getting in all of our cardio, but the more our cardio went up, the more time we spent with our asses planted on the couch the rest of the day.
I remember that.
Like we would get home from the gym and we would just like face plant onto the bed or the couch and just like not move for hours sometimes. So even though the cardio burn was increasing, our NEAT, our non-exercise activity burn was like absolutely plummeting. And then you'd stall and be like, I don't know why I'm not making progress anymore. So this is one of the reasons that I really like a step goal for people. And I don't think there's anything magic about 10,000. I just think having a step goal is really important. And I do like to keep it in with people, even when we're doing bodybuilding preps, where they have a certain amount of cardio that they have to do. But I also want them to get a certain amount of steps because that is going to start to decrease without them even paying attention.
Energy conservation is not only for those who are in a deficit. Energy conservation happens when you want to do something or do lots of things and just be a high-performing human, be better at your job, be more present in your relationships, find ways to just be more efficient, to do more with your life. Everyone wants to get as much out of life as possible, right? But sometimes you can sell yourself short if you don't focus on the fact that as human beings, we are adaptable, highly efficient creatures. And energy conservation is definitely a thing, and the exact opposite of NEAT. And it's where people typically gravitate toward. Finding ways to be active with everything that you do, as silly as that sounds. Because if you don't, you can find yourself in a position where your NEAT is just not as good as it should be.
Yeah, like deliberately stop doing things in the most efficient way possible. I know that when I am like in full-blown diet cut mode, I start finding like the most ingenious ways to do things incredibly efficiently so that I don't have to move so much. I mean, I will literally like wait to go downstairs and use the bathroom until there's like 5 other things that I need to do, because then I can do it all in one trip instead of having to do multiple trips. And it's not a conscious thing. I think that's the important thing to notice, is this isn't like a conscious thing that happens. It's like your brain just starts thinking like, okay, what is the most efficient path through this grocery store and back to my car, rather than just like meandering through the aisle. It's fascinating. The human body is fascinating.
But you can literally train the skill and become better at it.
Totally. So the next thing that I would say is to increase how much protein you're eating. So the reason is that it is very costly for your body to digest protein. This is called the thermogenesis of food. And of all of the macronutrients, protein is far and away the most expensive to burn, which means if we eat, I think it's up to 40%. If we eat 100 calories worth of protein, it might take us up to 40 calories to digest that protein. So yes, we're taking it in, but we also have to use a lot of energy to fully digest it.
There's other benefits here too. Protein bumps throughout the day trigger muscle repair and recovery. Protein, more than you actually need, is a little bit of insurance to make sure that the pool of amino acids that you pull through multiple times a day is rich enough for you to repair and recover and perform well. Protein is, like Danny said, there's a little bit of a thermogenesis effect to it. But there's also an upper limit here, because if you get too high, you're going to start taxing your system. But in my opinion, there shouldn't be the fear of underconsumption because protein is taxing on your system. It's actually helpful for your system too, because if your bones ain't strong and your muscle ain't strong and growing because you're not getting enough protein and the pool of amino acids that you pull from are not there, then what's all that activity you're putting in? It's just going to waste. And what kind of body you're left with after the fact?
So I want to just correct myself. I said up to 40. It's actually 30. 30%. But just to give like some comparison, fat, we burn 0 to 3%. So fat is the most efficient thing that you can eat. You are going to keep the most of it. You don't burn very much at all digesting it. Carbohydrates is 5 to 10%. And my guess is that difference between 5 and 10 probably has a lot to do with fiber, is my guess. I think if it has more fiber, probably is a little bit more costly to digest. But compare that 0 to 3% for fat, 5 to 10% for carbs, to 15 to 30% for protein.
But just remember, hypothetically speaking, it is still a numbers game where it's calories in versus calories out. If you're eating 2,000 calories of protein for a day, or if you're eating 2,000 calories of fat for a day, hypothetically speaking, please don't do that. Either scenario. Maybe you're going to burn an extra, whatever, arbitrarily speaking, 50 to 100 calories a day. It's not a make or break. Like, it's still calories in versus calories out, and you still want to space out your macros in a way where you're going to be healthy and optimized and eating for your athletic and activity needs.
Yeah, totally. However, most people, when they come to us, they're not eating enough protein to reach their goals optimally. And sometimes without changing their caloric intake at all. If we just tweak the protein intake, they will start both building muscle and losing fat for all the reasons that you just mentioned about how, yes, the protein helps us build muscle, and losing fat because, yeah, you burn more calories just eating it alone. Like, when we look at what actually is scientifically sound in terms of increasing metabolism, it's actually a short list. There's not a lot of real true ways to increase your metabolism. So while none of these numbers are like, oh my God, double your metabolism overnight, although you kind of could with NEAT, I guess. But, protein and increasing it is pretty significant in the grand scheme of things. So I think it's an important one. Okay, this one is a weird one. And it's almost kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of funny one, but I think people forget this, is to be bigger.
Be bigger.
Be bigger. The larger you are, the more calories you burn. Period. End of story. So it really all comes down to, like, what is your goal? I guess, like, if your goal is to be smaller, obviously being bigger is in direct opposition to that. But don't forget that a larger body takes more energy to run, just like a bigger car requires more gasoline to run it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. So I say this is kind of funny and a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's true. It's 100% true. But as people get smaller, your metabolism, the amount of calories you burn throughout the day, is very likely to decrease simply because you are smaller. Way back at the beginning, 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐷 mentioned how we think of metabolism when we work with clients as this person burns X calories per pound. Well, that stays true. But if your number of pounds is smaller, you're going to burn less overall.
That number shifts for sure. It can shift by as much as like 3 to 7 calories per pound, depending on whether you're getting bigger or smaller, in my opinion.
Well,
that's what I've seen.
I guess that could be true because our bodies really do like homeostasis, and they will do a lot to keep us there. So that means as we're getting smaller, our body will get better at sucking the marrow out of every calorie that we eat, so to speak, so that we become very efficient, very, very efficient with very few calories. But on the opposite end, when we get bigger than our body actually wants to be, we just start burning through calories because our body's like, nope, we don't want to get any bigger than this. And it just starts churning away.
Those ranges are definitely when you're in flux, getting bigger or smaller, so to speak. And the range narrows a little bit once you're at maintenance and you've upregulated or downregulated.
Okay, these last two are a little bit grayer areas, I think. The science could change on these. But right now, it appears that they are helpful. But, take it with a grain of salt. Green tea. There's a lot of research that suggests that drinking green tea, 3 cups per day can help somebody burn up to an additional 100 calories per day. So, we see all of these like green tea diets and supplements, or that just drink the tea. Like, you don't have to go waste your money on something really expensive. But bear in mind, there is some caffeine in green tea. And my question, they say it's the compounds that are in green tea, but like the caffeine has got to play a role, right? Because caffeine does also boost metabolism. Is it worth it is a different question. I would say for that purpose, no, because you're going to pay for it eventually. But green tea does have some caffeine in it, way less than black tea, way less than coffee, but it's there. So keep it in mind if this is one that you want to employ. Try to have it earlier in the day.
Definitely before 2 p.m. if you can. And in the morning, you're going to get more of a boost for the rest of the day.
Does green tea make you nauseous when you have it on an empty stomach? I'm curious.
Black tea and specific brands of black tea, but all black tea, not green for me personally.
Yeah, that's what I was. So black tea, I actually don't like coffee very much, guys. I don't like coffee at all. I don't like the taste of it. I really don't like the smell of it.
You're hurting this Italian man's heart who is a lover of all things pizza and coffee. But that's okay.
I can't help it. I think there's been such an association of the smell of coffee and having to wake up basically in the middle of the night to catch stupid early flights that now the smell of coffee like almost makes me a little bit nauseous. Ugh. But I still drink coffee in the morning because I'm hopelessly addicted to that early morning kick of caffeine. And drinking black tea on an empty stomach is like insta nausea for me.
Not good.
And 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞.
But what do they do in countries where they're more tea drinkers than coffee drinkers?
I don't know.
How do they make that work? Yeah. I wonder how the culture... Not sure.
I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Because I love black tea. And I drink it like a Brit with my soy milk in it. That's probably not how most Brits drink it. They probably just drink it with milk in it, but I drink it with soy milk in it. It's delicious, but the soy milk is still not enough to cut that nausea first thing in the morning.
No, it's got to be something with it.
Anyway, that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. I'm just curious because I don't know if green tea on an empty stomach also makes people nauseous. So, proceed with caution. Along that same line is spicy foods. Eating spicy foods, so both things like chilies, cayenne, and even things like cinnamon.
Wait, the spicier the food, the more calories burn?
I don't know. And it seems like even though, yes, this is scientifically true, it is very, very small. It is a very, very small number of calories that it does help you burn. But if you like spicy food, hey, why the hell not?
Okay, fair enough. Within reason, right?
Well, I mean, if you're eating like spicy French fries, that's probably not going to help you very much. But if you're adding, if you're dumping Frank's Red Hot sauce onto vegetables like I do, maybe that would help you.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Spice it up a little bit.
Yeah. And the very last one that like the research is still a little interesting on, and I will not be doing it because it sounds miserable, but it's to be colder. It is to set your thermostat a little bit lower. So there was a study where they put people in really cold climates and found that they burned more brown fat, which is a particular kind of fat that we have. I'm pretty sure that's the visceral stuff, if I recall correctly. Anyway, brown fat's not good for you. They burn more of it. Hooray. But it just makes sense. Like when I think about it, like, oh yeah, of course you would have to burn more calories.
Your insides have to warm up to keep you.
Exactly. So I imagine your body's got to work harder to keep you warm, ergo you burn more.
But if being cold prevents you from actually moving, you're kind of just...
Does it work the opposite way?
Meaning?
Like if I'm super hot, I'm asking questions now. I don't have answers to these.
There you go.
If I'm super hot and my body has to work really hard to keep me cool, is that an expensive thing or is that not? Because I never hear this the other way. Like, oh, if I just get really, really hot, my body has to work super hard to keep me cool, and then I burn a bunch of calories. But we know that when someone's cold and they need to warm up, they burn more calories trying to stay warm, which makes sense because burning calories creates heat, right? I don't know. It's interesting, but I hate being cold more than anything on earth. It's really high on the list. I do not like to be cold, and I tend to be cold, so I shan't be trying that one out on purpose. That's it, babe. That's my list. I don't have anything else on my list. There's lots of stuff that you will see that claims to help you boost your metabolism. Things like skipping breakfast, things like having breakfast the second you wake up, things like certain detoxes or other kinds of teas that basically just make you poop your brains out. Waist trainers, saunas, like there's a lot of stuff that people claim will speed up your metabolism that there actually doesn't seem to be any research for.
Mainly cleaning out your insides or sweating out, not actually speeding up your metabolism, and probably putting an unnecessary strain on your systems, in all honesty, and on your wallet.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, even some of the things that are on this list that are like, yes, technically true. I mean, eating chili pepper, it's almost negligible. It's almost negligible. So, you know, I added that to the list maybe, and I was like, I don't actually know if I would quantify this. But hey, if you like spicy food, it's not going to hurt, and it's not expensive. So
Why not?
Anyway, got any final thoughts on this?
Not really. I do feel like, though, that while these different ways to speed up your metabolism are seemingly negligible in terms of the calorie burn that it improves, I think it is the compound effect of being a person who is intentionally going to be more metabolically active that is going to be of the greatest benefit. So you put yourself in enough of a position where you're going to be a more active person by doing these things that speed up your metabolism, and you're going to wind up being a more metabolically active person. Simple as that.
Well, how about, since I did basically all of the talking on this podcast, how
No,
about
I
you?
don't work like that.
Listen, I showed up with a list and you had no list.
That's all right. I wasn't on the list.
Anyway, maybe you can answer today's Q&As and I'll just keep my mouth shut.
All right, I'll hold you to that.
All right, moving on to today's Q&A segment. I'm training for a marathon. My goal is performance-based, not just to finish. Do being in fat loss macros or a deficit allow for ultimate performance?
And the question here is, well, the goal is performance-based for a marathon. And the question is being in a deficit when the goal is performance going to be helpful, more or less, to paraphrase? That's a definite no. Your goal is not body fat loss. Your goal is performance. And this is the thing with runners because, well, think about it. In theory, being a lighter runner is going to make you a faster runner. You're going to perform better, right? So you start to think about, well, how could I be lighter? I could eat less. And you start to focus on that as the priority. And while there is some truth to being in a lighter body and running faster and improving performance, eating less is not the priority and not the answer. Eating the appropriate amount. Going in an intentional deficit is going to make it so that you are energy deprived, which is going to affect your ability to perform and recover, right? So I feel like focusing on your race weight well in advance and managing it is great, but it is secondary. Priority number one is to make sure you have enough energy to actually run. You know? And admittedly, we're not experts when it comes to runners in general, so I cannot completely nerd out here on race weight and how to manage that. But what I can nerd out on is the nutrition element and aspect of things. And I don't feel like being in a deep deficit is going to serve you.
Really. Sorry, I spoke
That's okay. This is a podcast. This is a conversation.
I feel like ultimate performance and energy deficit are almost mutually exclusive. They can't happen at the same time.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so you get kind of like powerlifting. You get into your target weight in the outside of your competition season, I should say. And then once it's time for your competition season, you're ramping up, you're getting closer. You focus on performance. You focus on that stuff before, well in advance. Yeah.
Moving on to the next question. I'm looking to move to fat loss from a muscle building phase. I'm happy with the weight that I've gained, but I want to start shedding some fat that I gained during that phase. I'm nervous that I'm going to start losing muscle that I've worked hard to gain, and I'm also worried about being hungry. Any advice?
One, pat yourself on the back, because focusing on muscle gain is not easy when you want to change your body, and that was an intentional thing in the decision. After the fact, as long as you don't go into any sort of severe calorie deficit for a long period of time, you shouldn't have to worry about muscle loss. As long as you're eating enough protein, you shouldn't have to worry about muscle loss. Those are the two things I would focus on. As far as the fear of being hungry, I get it. Typically, where we don't allow ourselves to feel hunger, we squash it immediately. That's just how it works in a modern world where food scarcity is not a first world problem, and you have access to hyperpalatable and hypercaloric food at your fingertips in most places, in most pockets, even in pockets of the world where the food scarcity is a thing. It's not that hard to be well fed. It really isn't. So I feel like hunger is a thing. It's a normal fear. We don't allow ourselves to feel it. Sitting with that level of discomfort can be a skill that you earn when going into a deficit. That's something I want to get a little thoughtful and mindful about, because I think going in with that intention can help your mindset for sure. And then in a practical way, think about the reward of enjoying your food as opposed to being focused on hunger and food. Find meals that you enjoy, find ways that you enjoy. Some people like to feel lighter and they don't like voluminous food. Some people like a full belly feeling and they like a lot of voluminous food. Play with stuff like that, big bowl of veggies or a handful of peanuts, for example. Focus on what feels good to you, what's going to scratch that itch, what's going to make it so that you're enjoying your food, you're enjoying the way you feel when you're in a deficit. And the practical things as far as programming is concerned, friend, you don't want to be in a severe caloric deficit, you don't want to go low on protein, and you don't want to do it for a long period of time. And if you manage all those things well, and you bake in a couple days here and there every other week where you just eat up a little bit, just to upregulate your systems, the chances of you losing muscle are not great, slim, honestly, just based on what I could see from what limited understanding I have of where you're at.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. If you have any questions or things you would like to hear about, feel free to reach out to us at coach@veganproteins.com. If you are interested in any level of coaching, again, go to veganproteins.com. We have our Muscles by Brussels membership. We have a fat loss challenge coming up in the next month. And of course, we always have our one-on-one coaching as well. We would love to hear from you. Once again, my name is Danny.
And I'm Giacomo.
And we will talk to you soon.